Hello, this is Nannie. This was Stephen's mom, Annis, and I've been making sourdough bread for years and years. I made it and would take it to people, and then I kind of quit one time. Several other people were doing it, and so I started back. And the way you start it is you get a starter, and you can make your own starter. You can Google it and find out how to make your own, but most people have a friend that has the starter. And if they do, then they will just share a cup of starter, which I will show you right here. This is the starter after I've left it to rise overnight and part of a day. And this is what will actually make the bread. And after, before this, then you have to save enough to put in the refrigerator for 3 to 6 days to feed again, and that's another process. So tonight we're just making the bread, but this is the starter that I have already fed this week. And I like to measure out my flour before I even mix all my other ingredients. And I like to dip it, I'll show you. And it's 6 cups of flour. So this is one, and I like to put the flour from one container to another, so it doesn't pack it down, and then you get it in, that's 2. And if you go like this and just dip it, it will pack down and could make your dough a little heavier. So what I do is very gently fill my cup, and this will be, and always do the back side of your knife, not the, this will be 4. Don't want to lose count here. 5, 6. So now I have my flour, and like I was going to say, always anytime you're measuring and you're going to level something off, don't do it with this part because it'll dip down. Always use the level side of your knife. Okay, so I have my 6 cups of flour, so that will be done, and I have a lid somewhere right here. Cover that up, and now I will start with the mixture. And for making a bread, you have 1 cup of starter. So now that will be 1 cup. One cup of starter. Now I could make 2 makings tonight, because as you feed your starter, if you don't make bread every time or it builds up, you could make 2 or 3 times. This time I could be making 2. So I've got 1 cup of starter. Then I have my sugar, which calls for 1/2 of a cup. So let me use my 1/2 cup. That's a 1/2 cup. Okay. 1/2 cup sugar, leveled off, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Some people like a little more salt. I find that 1 teaspoon is sufficient. Okay, so you know we've got our measuring spoons, our measuring instruments, just like we want it. Then calls for 1/2 cup of oil. Now I do use canola sometimes, but sometimes I use my olive oil, which I like, and I think it's also good for me. So 1/2 cup of oil. That always looks good to me. 1/2 cup oil. Then you want 1 1/2 cups of warm water, not hot. You know, if you're making yeast bread, which this is a form of yeast bread, but if you're just making something with the yeast package and you add hot water, it kills your yeast. So I'm assuming the reason this says warm water is for the very same reason. So I'll go to the sink and I will get warm water. 1. And 1/2. cups. Okay, I just added my 1 1/2 cups of warm water, just warm. And you can see here that it's just a liquid mixture, all the ingredients except the flour. And as many years and as many times as I make it, I check to make sure I've got everything, because there's times I'll forget the salt, phone will ring, whatever. I'll forget the oil, and I'll have to go back and think, did I put 1 1/2 cups or 1 cup? So I just check my recipe just to be sure. Then I will get my flour that I'd already pre-measured. There's 1 cup. There's 2 cups. And then I mix. If you poured all that together at one time, you'd have big lumps. You don't want big lumps. You want to, you see, if you can see this, you mix it up. Making bread is relaxing. It's good. It makes your house smell good. People love it when they see you coming with a loaf of bread, fresh bread especially. You can get creative. Sometimes I add cheese. Sometimes I add peppers and garlic and just different things that you can add. Now I add the 3rd cup and the 4th cup, which have been pre-measured. Measure again. Now sometimes, even at the best, I will look at this and I'll think, I didn't add enough flour, but I know I did because I've measured it out. But as you mix, I love a big wooden spoon and a big bowl. You just mix and always get the sides down so your flour will get all mixed in, not just sticking to the side of the pan or the bottom. See how good that's looking? Okay. Here's my 5th cup. I turn and I turn. I love to do it. It's just a good, or what, just makes you feel good. That's what it does. Okay, now see how it's looking now? See, it's still sticky. You don't want it to be like that. So this is my last cup. And I will measure it kind of again to make sure, which it was perfectly 6 cups. And now if you got a good mind, you don't have to measure out. And if you're not getting old, you can't remember too much. But I'm having trouble with that right now. So, but look at this. It looks really, really, really tough to mix up. But guess what? It also gives you some exercise. So, wooden spoon is good because it will pull it together. And you don't have to worry about that metal hurting your hand. It's just, see, now look how this is looking now. See, it's not mixed good yet, but it's getting there. It's not something you can just throw together and say, oh, I'm done. You have to be particular about it. And I'll tell you this, I know Lynette has a KitchenAid mixer. Now she puts all of hers in KitchenAid mixer, and she likes to do that, and it works for her. So the younger generation, if they like to do it that way and it works, and it pulls it together, then that's good. So here is, this is just about ready. And then I get my hand, I don't put any more flour. You just pull it together. Exercise, exercise. And feel good about what you're pulling together here. I used to think you shouldn't leave it in a metal pan to rise, but I found out recently that it really doesn't matter. A good metal pan, a good glass pan, a good any kind. That I use Grandma Womack's big bowl most of the time, just because it's sentimental. That's fun to do. Now look at this. Where's my oil? Where's that? Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Okay. See how this is pulled together? It's not really sticking to the pan. Okay, but then I do this. Put a little bit of oil in my hand. And I pour it around the edges of your pan. Because you don't want it to stick to the pan. The fun part on this is with your hands is you just look at this. Is this not perfect? Just perfect. It is perfect. And look at my pan. My pan's pretty clean. You don't want a lot of flour in the bottom. You don't want a lot of flour. You want to make sure that this is mixed in. And you pop it down. Give it a little pat. And look at that. If that's not a perfect pound of dough, I just don't know what is. Now, tomorrow morning, this should be like this, up over the pan. It should be coming up over the pan. Now, if you wanted to not make it until tomorrow, let it rise, you could put this in the refrigerator overnight just as it is. Put it out, but it'll take at least probably 8 hours for it to rise really good. According to your summertime, it's faster. Wintertime, it is not. It takes a lot longer. It takes a whole night. But then, I'll just pick this up to show you. When you get it tomorrow and you punch it down, get it punched down good, you want it to look like this again. You punch it after it's risen in the morning or whenever you get, and it has risen. And then you divide it in as many loaves. Sometimes, hold on, I'll show you. Okay. If I have a friend, I might make it in this little pan. That's enough for two to have a meal, and I love just having that. So, this is probably my favorite to take to a couple. Is this little pan? You spray them good, rub it down good, the corners and all. But if I'm just gonna make a nice big loaves, and I have these, they're just perfect. You can't they won't hardly stick, but you still oil them down, get the corners, oil them good, let them rise. Now, if you put it, say, a third full, you really want that loaf to rise till, if you touched it, it would pop right back up. But I'd say tonight it would take probably, hopefully till I get up in the morning, which is right now 8:30. Yeah, it might be over the top, but you can punch it down, get it going even then. Okay, so we got our bread made, or the dough made, not the bread. And you see this lovely holy rag out here? It's a holy rag. I've had this for years and years, and I keep it washed up, and I lay it across this, and in the morning, this should be puffed up, great big, and ready to go. And I'll be ready to work it down and put it in my pans.